And welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to Unit Conversions Word Problems. And in today's lesson, we're going to keep it nice and simple. It's going to be very straightforward because today we're really going to be focusing on just unit conversions and applying them in some of these fundamental word problems. So number one, we're going to just kick that elephant right in the face. We're going to convert units simply. You know, that elephant in the room is a lot of us, whether we need flashcards, whether we need a lot of practice, whatever the reason may be, a lot of us don't have these unit conversions down. So we're going to make sure we learn how to convert these units correctly and simply. Then number two, we're going to be converting between units inside of simple word problems, one-step word problems, maybe two steps. And then once we get the hang of that, we're going to dive straight into these multi-step word problems where we're really going to put ourselves to the test. Because remember, everybody, it's not just about memorizing the information. It's about knowing what to do with that information. So we're going to get into it right here, starting off with this first page. So I know we have a little cutoff right here, but don't even worry because anytime that we need a specific unit conversion in today's class, I'll go ahead and have it on the screen for you. So you're good. But here are just some of the conversions that we may use. So really quick, everybody in the chat box, do we recognize some of these conversions? Like 1 yard being 3 feet, like 16 ounces being 1 pound, like 1 kilometer being 1,000 meters, 1 quart being 4 cups, 60 seconds being 1 minute, 3,600 seconds being an hour. Yeah, I think some of these are recognizable. Yeah, for sure. I think some of these are definitely recognizable. So here's what I want us to understand though. You can know these conversions up and down, left and right. But do you know how to apply them? That's the biggest question that we're going to answer today. So, my party people, who here for a fact, give me a yes or no, be honest, who here knows exactly when they're supposed to multiply or divide when it comes to converting units? Who here knows exactly when all the time? Yeah, more no's than yeses, as expected typically with that. So I got you. Let's go ahead and keep things simple. For those of you who have come to my classes before, you may have heard me talk about the conversion rate. You've also may have seen me in a different lesson talk about the big to small method. But today, I'm going to try to introduce an even simpler method. And this is a shout out to those of you who really like cramming, who really like having those flashcards try to dictate every little thing that you're going to do. This is going to be for you. So let's go ahead and say that we are trying to, let's use something, very, very straightforward too. Let's say we're trying to convert, my party people, let's say 2 feet, and I want to convert that to inches. So first, everybody, let's understand what the actual answer is going to be, and then I'm going to show you the trick or the memorized function that we're going to use. Everybody, how many inches are in 1 foot? Can you tell me again? It's not on the screen, but can you tell me? That's right. We have 12 inches in a foot. So I'm going to write that right over here. 1 foot equals 12 inches. All right, perfect. So everybody, if 1 foot is supposed to be 12 inches, how many inches are 2 feet? Right, correct. If I put this right here, right in your face, yeah, sweet. Just double that, so we double this. So 1 foot is 12 inches, double that, and we get 24. Okay, cool. So we know what 2 feet translates to. We all see that. It's 24 inches. Confirm that for me in the chat box, everybody. Give me a yes or a no. Just so I can confirm visually for y'all before I show you this little trick. All right, perfect. Perfect. Now, everybody, what is the most common number that we see on all of these conversions? On this one here, this one, all of these down here. What's the one number that we notice all of these conversions have in common? Yeah, they all have one in common. They all have one in common. So with that said, everybody, we're going to take advantage of that. Notice 1 yard is 3 feet, 1 pound, 16 ounces, 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters, 1 quart, 4 cups, 1 minute, 60 seconds. So again, just confirming that there is a 1 in every single conversion. And that's because, by definition, we're just saying, hey, one of this unit is this many of another. It's never going to be 1 to 1, or else that's not called a conversion. So with that said, we're going to take advantage of that 1 right there. Everybody, here's how. If we're starting from the unit with the 1, going to the other units, we're going to multiply. Again, we're going to keep it simple. If we're starting from the unit that has the 1 on it, we're multiplying to get to the other unit. And if I could be a little more clear here, let me just move this down, bring this into the spotlight. Let's zoom on in, and let's just take a look at this instinctually. Everybody, to go from 1 to 12, are you multiplying or dividing? If you're going from 1 to 12, are we multiplying or dividing? Yeah, that's multiplying. To go from 1 to 12, yeah, times 12 all day, for sure. So let me just show that right over here. Let's use just a blue highlight here. We just multiply by 12. And then everybody, let's think about it backwards. I think the word backwards is going to trigger a lot of thinking caps here. Everybody, when we're working backwards, let's say if we're going from 12 back down to 1, which operation are we going to do? Yeah, that's division. So let's go ahead and highlight that as well. Let's use a red highlight and get all of this out of the way. Again, I'm just going to keep things very simple today. Very simple. So here's the rule, everybody. Here's the rule. First, you need to memorize your conversions, okay? All of these conversions that you see over here, we're going to be referencing them, and I'm going to be providing them to you throughout today's class. But it's your responsibility to have these memorized. So the rule goes as follows. If you are trying to convert, so once you identify your unit conversion, if you're trying to go to the unit that has the numbers, so that not 1, so 12 or 4 or 10 or 100 or whatever, if you're going to that unit, you're multiplying from the other. If you're trying to get to the unit that has the 1 on it, you are dividing to get there. Again, you first want to list that conversion, and then you want to know where you're trying to get to. If I'm trying to get to the unit with the numbers on it, I'm multiplying. If I'm trying to get to the unit with the 1 on it, I'm dividing. That's it. That's the simple truth we're going to work on with today, and I'm going to show you how that's going to work through every word problem that we do. So let's just go ahead and show how that's going to look right here. Everybody, if I erase this again, or just move this 24 away for a brief moment, let's keep it out of frame. Everybody, can you tell me if we're trying to calculate here and get 2 inches, well, are we going to be multiplying or dividing based on the rule that we said? We're trying to get, yeah, we're going to multiply because we're trying to get 2 inches. When you take a look at your conversion rate, 1 foot equals 12 inches. I'm trying to get to inches. So I'm going to highlight that right here. I'm going to try to get to inches. So I'm trying to get to the 12. So remember what I said. If you're trying to get to the unit with all the numbers, you're going to multiply. You're going to multiply. If we were trying to come back down to feet, we're trying to get to the one with the 1, and that would be division. And that's really it, everybody. I know that when we're just trying to represent the entirety of today's lesson with one little problem, I definitely can understand and, understand how that can feel confusing. But once we get to the practice, just watch and learn step by step, you'll see how much easier the actual conversion process can be. But before I continue, does that make general sense to you? We're going to take advantage of these unit conversions that have the 1 on them, because they all do. And if we're going to that unit with the 1 on it, we're dividing, because we're going to go from 12 or 3 or 16 or 1,000, going back down to 1. Exactly. If you start on the unit with that big number, if you start on that unit to get to the other unit, you'll divide. And if you start on the unit with the 1 to get to the other unit, again, that's going to be multiplication. So my party people, who is ready to go ahead and try some problems? Cool. Let's get straight to it. Let's have some fun today. Let's really get after it here. So we're going to start off with number 1. Everybody, first things first, tell me here, what is it that we're looking for at the end of the day? What are we looking for in this problem? Yeah, we're trying to find how many inches we have. Sounds good right here. First thing we always want to do in a word problem, my party people, is we want to read that question. Not the information. I don't care about all that. I just want to read the question sentence so that I don't overwhelm myself. So how many inches? Okay, cool. So whatever I have, I'm trying to get to a certain number of inches. Everybody, what amount do they give us, and include the unit with it in the chat box? We are given, we're given 6.5 feet. A plank is 6.5 feet long. Perfect. So we have 6.5 feet equals how many inches? Now, pop quiz, what is the unit conversion between feet and inches? What is that going to be? Write that out in the chat box. Say it out loud in your head. Yeah, 1 foot is 12 inches. That's right. We're going to write that down over here. 1 foot equals 12 inches. All right, everybody. Tell me, are we going to be multiplying or dividing here? Are we going to multiply or divide to get to that answer? Yeah, we're going to multiply. Again, based on the rule that I just gave you here in your notes, we are trying to get to the inches right over here. So I'm trying to get to the inches. So what did I say? If you start on the unit with the 1 on it and you're trying to get to the other one, that is multiplication. And you're going to multiply by that number right there. That's 12. And that's it. That is it. If you're starting from the unit with the 1 to get to the other one, you multiply. If you're trying to get to the unit with the 1, you divide. That is as simple as we can make it. Let's go ahead and get it done. We have 12 multiplied by 6.5. And at this point, I know for sure some folks are going to be a little nervous about that decimal. But remember, when you multiply by decimals, just go ahead and ignore the decimal. We're going to bring it back at the end. All right? Bring that decimal back. So bring it back at the end. So let's tackle this and let's move forward with a grin on our face. So here we go. Let's ignore that decimal. 12 multiplied by 5, or we're starting with 2 times 5. That'll end up being 10. Carry the 1. And then we have 1 times 5. That's going to be 5. Carry the 1 is 6. Now we'll move forward to that next place value right here with the 6. So here we go. 2 times 6, that's going to be 12. And we'll carry that 1. And then we have 1 times 6 is 6. Carry the 1 is 7. Drop that right there. Add everything all up together and we get 0, 8, and 7. Everybody, how many decimal places are we bringing back? Yep, just 1. So we check up here first. Nope, no decimals there to bring. And then we check over here and we just have 1 decimal to bring back over. 1 moved over, and that is going to be 78 inches. And that is our solution here. The answer is going to be A, 78 inches. All right, let's get into it here, everybody. The first thing we're always going to do is read that question first. The question reads, how many ounces does it weigh? All right, so at the end of the day, we're looking for the weight of some item, and we're looking for it specifically, again, in ounces. So we have our unit conversion listed right here. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. And it looks like we're starting off at 2.5 pounds. So we're trying to turn 2.5 pounds. We're trying to turn that into blank ounces. So let's follow that rule that we know. If we're going to the unit with a bunch of numbers, well, we multiply to get there. If we're trying to get down to the unit with the 1 on it, we're trying to divide. So with that said, everybody, we're trying to get to the ounces. We're trying to get to the unit with all those numbers on it, the 16. So we are going to multiply. So boom, right there, we automatically know what we're trying to do. Multiply by that number right there, that's 16. And so let's do it. 16 times 2.5. And we're going to multiply by a decimal. So just to make sure that we're aware, we're going to ignore the decimal at first. Ignore that thing, and then bring that decimal back at the end after we're done multiplying. So here we go. 6 multiplied by 5, that's going to be 30, carry the 3. Then we have 1 multiplied by 5, that's going to be 5. Then carry the 3 is going to be 8. Then we'll move over to the next place value, putting that 0 right there. And so we'll have 6 times 2, which will be 12, carry the 1. And then 1 times 2 is 2, carry the 1 is 3. So now we add this back up, and we have 0, 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1, and then we have 4. My party people, how many decimal places are we going to bring back? Yeah, just 1 decimal place. There's none here at the top, 1 right there on the bottom, so we'll bring 1 back. And there we are. We'll have 40 ounces here at the end. Booyah. So the correct answer for this problem is going to be B, 40 ounces. Let's take a look at this next problem. The question reads, how many hours is that? Okay, cool. So before we get, again, too deep into the information, we really want to understand the purpose here. And the purpose is figuring out how many hours is represented by whatever information is here. Okay, we're looking for blank hours at the end of the day. So we're going to begin by noticing that it says a video lasts 135 minutes. Okay, cool. So the goal here is to turn 135 minutes. We're trying to turn that into hours. So before we begin, everybody, what is going to be our conversion rate? What's that formula between minutes and hours? Yeah, 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Let's write that down. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So let's go ahead and apply that rule. That rule is, hey, look, if we are going from hours to minutes, notice that we're going to the unit with all the numbers. But that's not the case here, everybody. We're not going from hours to minutes. We're going from minutes to hours. So everybody, instead of multiplying, we are going to do what operation? Yeah, it's going to be division. It's going to be division, exactly. So we are going from minutes to hours. So remember, when we are going to the unit with just the 1, we're trying to get down to that 1. That means we are dividing to get there. So our job is going to be to divide this 135 by 60, and that's going to give us the number of hours in decimal form. So at this point, we're going to use that long division to get there. But remember, if we're a little apprehensive with that long division, working with decimals and anything of the sort, we have every opportunity to practice this to get things done the right way. So let's go ahead and get it done here. 135 divided by 60. This is how it looks like as a fraction. And this is what it'll look like when we set up that long division. 135. So here we go. We're going to try to get that 60 into 1. It doesn't work. 60 into 13. Doesn't work. But everybody, how many times does 60 go into 135? That's going to be a clean 2 times, but there is going to be a remainder, unfortunately. So with that said, you might have been able to guess that by taking a look at these answer choices for sure. So let's place the decimal right where it would belong. Let's add a 0, and then let's keep doing some work. So first, let's acknowledge the 60 going into 135 twice. 2 times 60, that's going to be 120. So we'll subtract that, and that's going to give us a leftover of 15. Now from here, this is where we're going to drop that extra 0. Again, we're going to keep doing that until we have no remainder at all down here. So up next, everybody, 60 goes into 150, another 2 times exactly. Because 60 times 2, like we just saw, that's 120. So there's that, minus 120, gives us 30 left over. So we're going to take that extra 0 again and drop it all the way down. And there we are. So now everybody, how many times does 60 go into 300? How many times is that going to be? Yeah, that's going to be 5 times, exactly. That's going to be 5 times. And so we have 2.25. That's going to be, booyah, right there, the correct answer. The correct answer here is answer choice A. And this is a nice problem where we get to practice unit conversions and practice long division when it came to having a decimal inside. So there we are, my party people. Let's get ready for the next one. So the question reads, how many minutes is that? So here's our next question. So how many minutes is that? All right. So we're trying to convert units here clearly because we're trying to get to minutes, and we start with seconds. A video clip lasts 150 seconds. Okay. So what we noticed that we're trying to do, my friends, is we're trying to go from seconds and we're trying to turn that into minutes. So let's first begin by understanding the context here. What's that formula going to be? What's that conversion going to be? Yeah, 60 seconds equals 1 minute. That's correct. 60 seconds equals 1 minute. So again, let's ask ourselves, we are going to the unit minutes. This is what we're trying to arrive at. So with that said, everybody, what operation are we using to go to the unit that has the 1? When we're going down to the unit that has the 1, that's correct. We are going to divide. That's right. We are going to divide. Because again, to go from 60 down to 1, that is division. So we're going to divide by 60. So right over here, to get this done, we are going to divide by 60. Just like that. So now let's get it done. And we're going to use a little bit of long division here, but just stay true to the process. 60 going into 150. Well, let's see. 60 doesn't go into 1 or 15, but it does go into 150 twice. So we'll write that 2 right over there. Minus 120, because 60 multiplied by 2 is 120, giving us a leftover of 30. Now, we're not done. We're not done. If we were to stop right here, right now, what this means is 2 minutes and a remaining 30 seconds. Because again, we were dividing from seconds. So any remainder remains as seconds. However, are we done though, everybody? Should we accept this 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or do we need to continue? Yeah, we got to continue. We have to continue because notice our answer choices. Our answer choices are all in just minutes. So we have to continue this. I know a lot of us hate that long division. I know we hate going into that territory with decimals. I get it. I totally get it. I understand. But we have to accept that responsibility. So here, let's put that decimal place with that 0, bring it down. We got 300. Everybody, how many times does 60 go into 300? Yeah, that'll be 5 times. So we don't want to forget putting that decimal right above where it was as well. And then we have that 60 going into 300 exactly 5 times. Subtract that 300, and we're all good. Booyah. All done. And so we have 2.5 minutes, and there we go. That's our answer. Our answer is going to be answer choice B. But before I continue, I do want to point out that when we had that 30 right here at the bottom, let me just highlight that. One way that you can do some quick conversions in your head is kind of like this. Everybody, relative to a full minute, how much is 30 seconds? Relative to a full minute, how much is 30 seconds? That's half. That's right, Jalen. That's going to be half. So when we think about it, when we have 2 minutes and then 30 seconds left over, we can absolutely think about that as 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes with 30 seconds left over. That's 2.5 minutes. So I just wanted to throw that out there before I, finish or conclude this solution. But yeah, there it is, my party people. So let's keep looking forward and let's get ready to try another one out with our best foot forward. All right, next question here. So it says, how many feet is that? All right. So first things first, as always, focus on that question. We don't want to focus on the information. We really want to focus on that question sentence. How many feet is that? Okay. So we know we're trying to get to feet. We know we're trying to get to feet. And the unit that we're coming from is yards. So it says 12 yards. So we want to know the translation from 12 yards to however number of feet. Now, let's go ahead and trust that little conversion rule that we've been tinkering with. And that is, hey, first, let's write out that conversion. And most of you have been graceful and wrote that conversion down already, saying that 1 yard equals 3 feet, which is absolutely correct. 1 yard equals 3 feet. Now, when we think about the unit that we're trying to get to, we're trying to get to that unit with those numbers, not the 1, everything other than a 1, anything other than a 1. And so my party people, whenever we're trying to get to the unit with a bunch of numbers, yeah, we're going to multiply. That's right, Antoinette. So booyah right there. We are going to multiply to get to that unit. So that's right here. Multiply by that same number that you just saw, that 3 right there. Now, we don't even need to use long multiplication for this one. 12 times 3, we know what it is. That's going to be 36. And there's our answer. 36 feet is going to be it. And this is a relatively quick one for sure. So y'all tell me, how did you feel about this one? Do you feel like this one was pretty straightforward to get to and follow through with? So here's another one. Let's begin with the question sentence. And that question sentence, as always, is the first priority. So how many quarts is this? Okay, sounds good. So another straightforward unit conversion problem where they say, hey, here's this container's capacity, 3.2 gallons of liquid, but we really need to know how many quarts that's going to be. Okay, sounds good. So we have 3.2 gallons to begin with, and we want to turn that into an unknown number of quarts. So with that, let's write that conversion first. So we can understand whether we're going to multiply or divide. And I don't want us to just rely on the answer choices to see what that might be. Let's really use reasoning. Let's pretend the answer choices aren't even there. So what we need to know is that 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. 4 quarts makes 1 gallon. So my party people, we are trying to get 2 quarts. We're trying to get 2 quarts. So because we're trying to get to the unit that has the number on it, we will perform what operation? Because we're trying to get to that unit with the number on it. Yeah, we're going to multiply. If we were trying to get to gallons, that's a 1 on it, and we would be dividing in that case. But in this case, we'll multiply. So that means we'll do 3.2 multiplied by 4, again, by that number that we have right there, our conversion rate, nice and easy. And so 3.2 multiplied by 4, 2 times 4 is going to be 8. 3 times 4 is going to be 12. And then from here, we're done with the exception of really just making sure we're following those decimal rules. So we have 1 decimal place up top, none on the bottom. So it's still going to be 1 that we'll bring back. And there we go. 3.2 gallons is going to be the equivalent of 12.8 quarts. And that's going to make the correct answer here. Answer choice D. All right, so just like every problem that we've done, we want to handle this one with the same level of grace. We're going to read the question first, and then we're going to see the approach that we need to take from there. So here it says, how many seconds is that? So we know that we're looking for seconds. Okay, cool. So whatever it is that we're about to be given here, know that your goal is seconds. Okay, great. Now, we see that we begin with this workout that lasts 1.2 hours. Okay, so what we are truly trying to accomplish is turning 1.2 hours into seconds. Now, this might seem a little odd, right? This might seem a little different for the reason being that we're typically used to, these conversions that are pretty straightforward, like seconds to minutes, minutes to hours, hours to days. But notice how this isn't seconds to minutes or minutes to hours. This is seconds and hours. So this one's a little different, and here's how we can handle this. There's 2 ways. One, if you just memorized the relationship between 1 hour and seconds, that's going to be 1 hour equals 3,600 seconds. But let's be realistic, everybody. Did everybody here know this off the top of their head? Did everybody know this? Like, oh yeah, you could ask me that at 4 a.m. after waking me up. I would know that for sure. Right, not everybody. Yeah, for sure. 1, 2, 3 out of the couple of hundred folks that are here live. Absolutely. But certainly not greater than 90% of the room. And that's reasonable. That's reasonable to expect. So let's first show you, if you knew the exact conversion, how much time you would save. But I'm also going to show you how to actually go from seconds to hours without knowing this. All right, everybody, I got you. So let's follow our rule. We are starting from hours and we're trying to get to the seconds. We're trying to get to the unit with all the numbers. What operation are we going to use? Yeah, if we're trying to get to that unit with all of those numbers, yeah, we're trying to multiply. We're going to multiply to get there. So we know that 1.2 hours, we are going to multiply that by 3,600, and that's going to get us that final answer. Let's show what that answer is going to be. Let me move this up here, and I'll just do my work right over here. 3,600 multiplied by 1.2. So we have 0 times 2, 0 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, carry the 1 is 7. All right, up next. Boom. Now let's start with the 1 here. 0 times 1, that's 0. 0 times 1 is 0. Then 6 times 1 is 6. And then 3 times 1 is 3. Add all that together, and we are going to have 0, 0, 2. 7 plus 6 is 13. Carry the 1, and that's a 4. My party people, how many decimal places are we bringing back? Just 1. Because we have none up here, 1 right down there. So that is a total of 1 decimal place, making that answer 4,320. That's how many seconds 1.2 hours is. But we're not done. I'm going to show you again, like I promised, how we can get to that same answer. I'm going to highlight it, how we can get to that same correct answer by using our current knowledge. Everybody, watch and learn. I got your back every step of the way. Let me move this away, and I'll put this down over here somewhere, and let's get to work. Everybody, let's get to work here. What unit is it that is between hours and seconds? What unit is in between hours and seconds? Yeah, that's going to be minutes. So again, let's assume that we didn't know that whole fancy 3600 trick. Let's assume we didn't know that. Let's just use what we know. And here's what we know. I know that 1 hour equals 60 minutes. And I also know that 1 minute equals 60 seconds. Now I want you to take a look at this because here's where we're starting at the hours mark. We're trying to get to the seconds mark, but it looks like we're going to have to convert from hours to minutes and then from minutes to seconds. Before I continue, do we all see that? Just with our eyes visually, do we see that we are beginning with hours? We got to get to minutes before we can ultimately get it into seconds. So visually, I hope we see that. How we get there, take a look, everybody. Watch this. Watch this. Everybody, do we multiply or divide to go from hours to minutes? Do we multiply or divide to go from hours to minutes? And by what number again? Yeah, we're going to multiply by 60. Absolutely. So let me write this down here. I'm going to multiply by 60. Okay, to go from hours to minutes, I'm going to multiply by 60. Everybody, once I'm at minutes, let's pretend I'm already there, blank minutes, and I'm trying to turn that into seconds. What operation and by what number to go from minutes to seconds? How do we do that? Yeah, multiply by 60 again. Multiply by 60 again. All right, everybody, quick question. Quick question. Before I do all of this, before I do 60 times 60, let me ask you this. If I know that I'm supposed to multiply by 60, then multiply by 60 again, that's the same property of mathematics, excuse me. That's the same property of mathematics as multiplying by 2, then multiplying by 3 later. You can just commutate, use the commutative property, and just say, hey, 2 times 3, that's times 6. If I'm going to multiply by 2, then by 3, that's the same as multiplying by 6. Well, guess what? The same exact rule applies here. Everyone, if I'm going to multiply by 60, then multiply by 60 again, what's that the same as multiplying by? Multiplying by 60, then multiplying by 60 again is the same as multiplying by, 3,600. Isaiah, first one to say it. 3,600. That's what that's the same as. I'm going to show you that over here. I'm just going to write this down. 60 times 60 equals 3,600. Just like we saw in the earlier version of this problem, right? That's where that comes from. That's where that 3,600 comes from. But if you don't believe me, watch this. We're first going to go from 1.2 hours. We're going to do this into minutes first. Everybody, we already said that we would multiply by 60. So let's do that. 60 times 1.2, right over here. 0 times 2 is 0. 6 times 2 is 12. Then we'll drop a 0 right there, and we'll keep it going. 0 times 1, 6 times 1. Add that together, and that's going to be 720. And then we bring that decimal back right there, right there. So 1.2 hours equals 72 minutes. So then from here, everybody, we're at minutes. We're trying to get to seconds. So I'm going to say 72 minutes equals blank seconds. Everybody, what do we multiply by to go from minutes to seconds? That's going to be 60 again. Exactly. So I'm going to write that down right over here, and I'm going to highlight these in green. I multiplied by 60 once, then multiplied by 60 again. The first time was to go from hours to minutes, and the second time is to go from minutes to seconds. Let's do that again. And at this point, I'm sure a lot of us are thinking in the chat box, well, if I knew that 3600, life would be so much easier right now. Yes, you are absolutely right. So with that, let's go ahead and finish this up and get going. So 2 times 0, that's going to be 0. 7 times 0, that's 0. Then we'll go to the next line. Boom. 2 times 6, that'll be 12. Carry the 1. 7 times 6 is 42. And then carry that 1 is 43. Add all that back up, and we have 4,320 seconds. I almost feel like I wrote that same exact number down somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. So boom, we get the same exact answer even with that second method, and that's because this works. These conversions are true. No matter what day of the week, no matter what time of day, it will work. Now, even though I will agree that a lot of us really like this first method better, it's going to be up to you to know that relationship. Like I've been saying so far, it's not about memorizing the formula. It's knowing how to use it. All right, next question. The question reads, how many meters is that? Okay, so how many meters is whatever we're given going to be? Sounds good. So we have blank meters is what we're trying to get to. And we begin at 420 centimeters in length. Okay, sounds good. So what we want to understand from the very get-go is that we're beginning with centimeters and we're trying to get to meters. So we have to understand the conversion between centimeters and meters. So that conversion is going to be the following. That conversion is going to be 1 meter is not 1,000. This is a very common mistake that people make. Very common mistake is people say that 1 meter is 1,000 centimeters, which is not the case. 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters. A centimeter is 100th, not 1,000th. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters right there. 100 centimeters. So again, it would be 1,000 if it were millimeters, not centimeters. So that's what we have. And because we know that we're trying to get to meters, which is in this conversion, the unit with the 1 on it, my party people, what's that going to be? Is that multiplication or division? Yeah, that is going to be division. That's right. That is only going to be division. So with that said, booyah, to get 2 meters, we know that we need to divide because we're getting to that singular unit there. So we are going to divide by that number, that 100, and that's all we got to do. That's all we got to do. So let's set up that division and let's handle it with grace and keep it moving forward. So 100 goes into 420. How many times? Well, 100 goes into 4, can't. 42, it can't. But 420, it'll go in there 4 times. So we have 4 right there, nice and easy. And 4 times 100 is 400. Taking that away, and we get 20 left over. So just like before, we can't abandon the remainder. We cannot abandon it. We have to use that decimal place, and we have to continue going from there. So with that, there's that 0. Drop it down, and we have 200. But we got to make sure we put that decimal place where it belongs. And now, my party people, how many times does 100 go into 200? Yeah, that's going to end up being twice. So boom, we'll write that 2 right there. We'll subtract the 200. And we have no remainder. There we are, 4.2, and that is going to be 4.2 meters. And there it is. Answer choice C is the correct answer. And there we are, my party people. All right, this next question here, we want to understand approximately how many kilometers is this? Okay, about how many kilometers are we dealing with? So when we check that out, again, we want to end up with how many kilometers, and we begin with a number of miles. So between miles and kilometers, that's not a very common conversion that you'll see every single day. So for that reason, we have that approximation, that conversion given to you. So just like with every problem here, we're going to go ahead and list out what we have and what we're trying to get to. So we have a quarter mile and we're trying to get to a certain number of kilometers. Okay, cool. So based on our goal, my party people, based on our goal, trying to get 2 kilometers, what do you think we need to do? Multiply or divide based on us needing to get 2 kilometers. Are we going to multiply or divide based on the rules that we've been discussing recently? Again, if you're going to the unit that has the 1 on it, we're dividing. If we're trying to get to the unit with a different number on it, that's multiplication. So when we take a look at what we have, we're not trying to get 2 miles. We already have miles. I'm trying to get to the 1.6, that kilometers. So we are going to multiply. We are going to multiply right over here, and that is going to be by 1.6 right there. I'm going to say this before I even start multiplying. If you understood this as, hey, well, 1 mile versus a quarter mile, I can divide that by 4. If I divide that by 4, I can potentially see the correct answer pretty quickly if I knew that a quarter mile is just a quarter of that. Divide by 4, yeah, we might be able to see that. But in case we didn't, no worries, I got you. Let's go ahead and do the multiplication. So let me zoom in. 1.6 multiplied by 0.25. And I totally understand if some of us are feeling apprehensive towards all these decimals, but we got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? We got to build that confidence one way or another. So here we go. 6 multiplied by 5 is going to be 30, carry the 3. 1 times 5 is 5, carry the 3 is 8. Now we'll move over to the next line for that 2. So now we have 6 multiplied by 2, that's going to be 12, carry the 1. And then we have 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, carry the 1 is 3. So booyah right there. So we add this all up, and now we have 0, 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1, and then 1 plus 3 is 4. So there we are, everybody. How many decimal places do we bring back? Is it 1 or is it 2? Which one is it? Yeah, it's actually going to be 3 because we have 1 decimal place here, 2, and then 3 total. Remember, it's the total of those decimal places. So we have 1, 2, 3. Booyah, and that's going to be 0.4. That's how many kilometers we are dealing with in this problem. So the answer choice that's correct is going to be answer choice C, 0.4 kilometers. All right, next question. In this question, the goal reads as follows. It says, how many yards of the trail are uphill? Okay, so right here, how many yards of the trail are uphill? So we have 2 things to really pay attention to. Number 1 is going to be, we want to know the number of yards. How many yards for sure? That's right there. That's easy to spot. But the other part is right over here, uphill, right there. So there are 2 pieces of information that are conditional to our success. So I'm going to say blank yards is what we're looking for, but specifically we want to say blank yards uphill. That is specifically what we care about right there. So with that, let's check the information that we start off with. It says that a hiking trail is 8,640 feet long. I know that's a large number. I know, but take it as is. The hiking trail is this long, and here's the important part. Exactly half of it is uphill. Exactly half. Okay, everybody. So our trail equals 8,640 feet long. We know that half of it is uphill. And then everybody, even if we do the half, even if we cut that in half and divide it by 2, what's the last action that we need to take? Don't tell me operations and numbers. Tell me what action do I need to take? Once I cut that trail in half to isolate the uphill part, after I have that uphill part, what do I have to do still? I have to do what still? I got to convert. Yeah, I got to convert it. So those are the 2 things I got to do. Let's make sure we keep that in mind. number one, I gotta divide by 2. I have to divide by 2 because of the half being uphill. Because again, we want to know the uphill part. And then the second part, we have to convert. The second part, we have to convert from feet to yards. And if we think about our conversion rate, my friends, if we think about that little conversion rate, we have 1 yard equals 3 feet. So if we take a look at that, trying to get 2 yards to that unit that has a 1 on it, which operation are we going to go with again? If we're trying to get to that unit with the 1, yeah, we're going to be dividing by that conversion, by that 3. So boom, look at that. We have divide by 2 over here. And then to convert, we have a division of 3. So boom, if you can see that, if you can feel that and understand it, then that's all you have to do from this point forward. Divide by 2, then divide by 3, and we are done. And that's it. So let's check this out here. Let's go ahead and do it. So we have 8,640. Let's go ahead and divide that by 2 to get the uphill part. Everyone, 8,640 divided by 2 gives us what? 2,000. No, divided by 2, not by 4 or 3, but by 2. Yeah, that's going to be 4,320 feet. This is the uphill part. Now up next, we have to convert it. And that conversion is going to be 4,320 feet divided by 3. And we can do some long division right down here. Let me just move some of this a little bit out of the ways. Perfect. And then let's just take this and move it up slightly. And let's do that division by 3 to do the conversion. So 3 going into 4,320. Take it one step at a time. We're going to do 3 going into 4 once with 1 left over. Drop the 3. Then we have 3 going into 13 4 times. Subtract 12 with 1 left over and drop that 2. Then we have 3 goes into 12. That'll be 4 times again, but this time it's a clean 4 times because there's no remainder. So that 0 that we would have dropped, we'll just place at the top, and there we are. We've completed the conversion, and our final answer is going to be 1,440 yards. That's going to be our final answer, my party people. There it is. It is answer choice C. And booyah, and there we go, and then we're on.